Really delighted to have Megan Hensley from Holistic Hooves, the Donkey Farrier, to talk to me today about donkey feet. And we've just come off of a big, what is it? How long have we been talking? 2 hours, 2.5 hours on donkey feet. We've looked at some cadaver feet, we've looked inside them, we've looked at some bones, and we've put in together a video on that. But Megan, you had some really important information that I would like you to share with our community now about the care of donkeys, which is critical and people need to understand.
It is critical. And thank you so much for having me. It's always so
Pleasure.
cool to do this with you. So yeah, donkeys, when you looking at the hooves that we opened up today, we're looking at laminitis and we're looking at what we're calling catastrophic, like a catastrophic event that happened inside this hoof and how damaging it really is. And one of the things that really come up for me as someone who's been working with donkeys for so long is that this is preventable. This particular type of laminitis, when we're talking about this metabolic disease and obesity, people leaving their donkeys out on grass pastures and just allowing them to eat and become obese, when we're looking at who the donkey is. So that's something that I always want to come back to is you have a donkey and you may live like I live in the Pacific Northwest. Who knows where you live in the world, but
Mm.
your donkey originates from the desert. And that's who their species is, and that's their biology and their physiology. And when we look at them from that perspective, then we can see very clearly what they're supposed to be eating, what kind of environment we should be trying to mimic for them. And it also is very clear why they're so sick, why donkeys in America, I'm in America, but in anywhere where they're not in like a third world country where they have a lot of, where people have a lot of resources for them, you will often even hear people just say, oh, all donkeys are fat. Oh, all donkeys get the laminitis. And unfortunately, that's what we're seeing. But this is a husbandry issue. This is a mismanagement issue. And something that I have been candid about in my past is I have been working with donkeys for 19 years as a trimmer, but it's really only in the last about 6 to 7 years that I got very clear on what they needed for their diet. I had a fat donkey for a long time, and
Mm.
I was like other people. I
Right.
was like, oh, donkeys are just fat. That's, I was just out there trimming all the donkeys because I love them and I was ignorant. I did not know what I know now. And actually that donkey I still have, but he's suffering now in his elderly years due to my mismanagement when he was younger, and it's irreversible.
Yeah.
And so I think as a trimmer, and then if you're a donkey owner listening to this, well, as a trimmer, it trying to get donkey owners to understand that their dietary needs are so different from horses and they shouldn't be out on pasture. They're not people's herd guardians. They need to have companions of their own kind.
Mm.
But, and as a donkey owner, if you're listening to this, you're directly responsible for the health and wellness of your animal. And I know a lot of you guys get donkeys that are already fat. They come to you fat. And so you've got that mountain to get over. Maybe they've already had laminitis. Maybe they're already got Cushing's or metabolic disease, but dialing in and doing your very best to mimic the diet that they were supposed to have, which is low sugar, low starch, high in fiber, getting them
Mm.
as much movement as you can, getting them off the pastures. That's how you're going to make a difference for them. And if you've got young donkeys, you've got the opportunity to create a lifetime of health and wellness for them, which many donkeys haven't got to experience. So that's a really cool thing to think about, you know?
Yeah, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. And you do courses, don't you? Do you do courses for donkey owners or
I
just for
do.
trimmers?
No, actually, I take on a few trimmers. There are some trimmers that take my course, but my courses, Lindsay, are actually geared especially for donkey owners because that's where the
Oh,
gap was. That's where the biggest gap is the donkey owners. First of all, you might say, oh, Megan, I'd love to take better care of my donkey, but there's been really no information. And the other thing, Lindsay, is donkeys historically in the hoof care industry are severely underserved, like full blown. Donkeys weren't considered very important. A lot of farriers don't want to work with them because not only are donkeys super unique in from a species perspective, like their dietary, but also from a species perspective, they behave very differently than horses. And that actually has to do with them living in the high desert, and some of the fact that they don't run and flee is because, like horses do, is because they don't want to waste the energy. There's nothing to eat. They already spent all night digging a water hole. The last thing they want to do is run off and expend all their energy. So they tend to camouflage, or they'll get really tough and they'll stand their ground, which horses don't do. And this translates into donkeys' behavior. People will say they're stubborn. They don't want to do what I want to do.
Oh,
They're being picky. And it's actually just a reflection of what they do to preserve themselves. And they're incredibly intelligent. So that obviously that always gets someone into trouble if they're a little too smart for their britches, which I love about donkeys. So when you start to understand them, really who they are, everything about caring for them and working with them becomes so much easier. And they really like it too when you go, "Oh, hey, I know who you are. Okay, okay. You're sassy, you're smart, you're strong, independent." They like it when you recognize it in them. So sorry to answer your question. Yes, my courses are
brilliant.
for donkey owners. From the top, we go through everything: who the donkey is, how to feed them, how to keep your environment for them, and to also becoming an owner trimmer and trimming them yourself.
That's
And then
wonderful.
yeah, and then we have bonuses like you, a wonderful guest speakers who come on, and you get to look inside donkey hooves and all kinds of fun stuff.
Okay. So I'll put all the details in the comments for
Yeah,
this video about how people can contact you if they're interested in going on a course, one of your lovely
yes,
courses.
thank
And
you.
I just want to thank you for sponsoring my work. So Megan has sponsored me. She's committed to a whole year of sponsorship, which is such a help for me. So I can use that money very wisely to then teach people and ultimately help horses and donkeys. So thank you, Megan, for being my sponsor.
Oh, you're so welcome. It's my pleasure. I believe in what you're doing so
Great.
much. I think
Thank
I
you.
said earlier too that, like, wow, if I'd have had this when I was a young trimmer, when I was
Wow,
just a
if I'd
baby.
had it when I first started looking at horse feet, I tell you, there
Yeah,
was hardly anything out there. I
yeah.
had to pave the way and looking
You
into
are. You're
and finding things. You know, you could find them in the old German textbooks and that, but I didn't have any of them. So it's been a bit of a journey for me.
you're a
But thank you,
pioneer.
Nick. I really appreciate your time, and I hope everyone has enjoyed that quick snippet of information. Absolute nuggets of information there. Take these very important learnings on board and do your best for your donkeys. Thank you. Thanks, Megan. Bye then.
Thank you.
Bye.